Hello, my friends, and welcome to your Taint Week. That's right. It is the week between Christmas and New Year's, Taint Week. The week where nothing is expected of you. The week where there should be no expectations from anyone about anything. You don't need to do anything. You can if you want, but you don't have to. There are no rules this week. There are no expectations. There are no assumptions. Just do whatever the fuck you want. It is Taint Week. Thank you very much for pressing play. I'm glad you're doing that on your Taint Week. It is the weekend. It's Saturday morning. We've just got a whole bunch of snow here, maybe 6 inches, a storm in the Northeast. I hope that you are doing okay. I hope you had a good Christmas holiday. I hope that you got the presents that you wanted if you celebrate. And I hope that you enjoyed your family or your friends or anything, and that there weren't any problems getting there or getting home or even while you were with those people. And if you weren't with anybody because you didn't want to be, great. And if you did want to be, I'm sorry that was the case. And hopefully you checked in with people somewhere. Community is so important. Loneliness is a killer. If you don't want it, you can always head over to the Discord platform. If you're a subscriber to our community, there's always people there for each other. And I got you a present, which is a conversation with me and Bill Boyle that we had the other day. And I'm planning to have a bunch more conversations this week. Not sure when. Like I said, I'm going to be posting at different times on different days over the next time period because I, too, am trying to relax. And so many of you encouraged me and, in fact, insisted that I do that. So that is the plan right now. I'll host a hangout at some point as well. But like I said, no rules, no expectations of me either. So thank you very much for coming by this morning. I don't have a news segment for you because I've got to go shovel out the driveway, etc., and not just mine. You know, you try to help out the neighbors and stuff. So I hope you like my conversation with Bill. I can't do it without you. Patreon.com/Pete Dominic. If you want to give a last minute gift to me and the show, you can. It helps me produce it every day, of course. Just head over to Venmo. My Venmo is in the show notes. You can do that if you want here at the end of the year. And if you're thinking about subscribing, now would be the time. Right here at the end of the month and the end of the year, patreon.com/Pete Dominic. All right. Bill is one of my good friends. He's a smart, curious student of history and politics. And a lot of people love when I talk to him. It's always a great conversation, and today was no exception. Let's do it right now with our friend Bill B in D.C. You can follow him on Blue Sky. Support him over there. Say hi to him if you're in D.C. You can watch this on YouTube or Substack, where a bunch of trolls did, and I kept lashing out at them, which I thought was fun and entertaining. And but maybe you don't like that. Maybe you don't like me interrupting Bill and doing that, but I thought it was a fun bit to do, and he played along. So let's go. Here we go. Yeah, surprise, surprise. I'm back, and I've brought another one of my smart friends to join me. Also handsome, very handsome and smart. It's Bill B in D.C., Bill Boyle down in Washington, D.C. I wanted to talk to you here at least one more time at the end of the year. We talk at least once a month on the record here, and sometimes more, but lots I wanted to ask you about. Thank you for being available on Christmas Eve is when we're talking.
Thank you, sir. I guess it's anti-Boxing Day. Actually, I think Boxing Day was the other day when both Andrew Tate and Jake Paul got their asses handed.
That's hilarious. Say more about that.
That was my Boxing Day.
Say more about that.
So Andrew Tate calls himself Cobra Tate. He's a rapist and a sex trafficker who, especially in Romania of all places, which is really trying too hard. And he set up a fight with some guy who's never really had a fight before, who had pink gloves and the worst technique of anyone I've ever seen in my life in the ring. And I boxed a little bit myself. I was quite bad at it. And these guys made me look amazing. And Andrew Tate got his ass absolutely kicked.
What was that about? So Andrew Tate, this guy who's a cultural icon for all the wrong reasons, and maybe those are the wrong words. Why did he get his ass kicked? Why would he have that fight? Is he a fighter? I don't.
So I think he did MMA or mixed martial arts or something. He certainly presents himself that way.
Yeah.
And the guy punching was a guy who was punching with his palms.
Yeah, it was bad. I know a bit about boxing too, and he didn't. But you don't need to know about boxing to know. It looked unathletic, but it looked like a street fight. In a bad way.
He got tagged anyway. I mean, he just got beaten up by a guy who can't fight, which was just fantastic. I guess if you're not like a 14-year-old Romanian girl, Andrew Tate is not someone you need to be worried about in a physical confrontation.
Yeah, if only they knew how An uppercut
I think
landed.
Two 14-year-old Romanian girls would kick his ass.
Oh God, it's so bad. It's so that's good. So he got his ass kicked.
Yep.
But the other one was this other guy who's Jake Paul, one
of the Pauls.
He's a dirt bag and just a MAGA. He later posed, I think, or maybe before he's in a private jet, he posed with stacks of cash and guns. I was like, what are you?
Yeah, no, he's like that guy that like.
What is that?
You assume if he dated your sister, you assume he's going to roofie her. Like,
well, that's very specific.
Look about him.
Yeah, for sure he's got that. But I mean, like, what is that? What is that like? Taking photographs with money and guns is a thing like a 12 or 13-year-old boy might do.
Well, that's who it's aimed for, right? I mean, that's the market these guys are going for. They're going for boys who don't understand what it is to be a man.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
And they're providing some sort of bullshit version of that,
right.
Of, guns and money. And he fought a guy who technically is pretty quite competent boxer. And that was a joy to watch because it was just, it was just this guy, just like he's smiling during this later rounds because he has spent 3 rounds kind of holding Paul up and kind of figuring out every bad palooka habit that he had. And then he spent another 3 rounds just teeing off on.
Why did it take him so long? If he's actually, I don't know.
So I don't know. Like
still makes me think it was
boxing someone who's bad. Like a good boxer is not going to rush for a knockout, right? You're gonna make sure that you're not going to fall into something or slip on a banana peel.
I guess, but
you know what he said before the fight? He said, "I'm getting in this fight to take his soul." I'm not kidding. That's the other guy said, and that's what he did. He like thoroughly reduced him to a shambling.
Yeah, but he still made $200 million or something like that.
How much did the other guy get though? Right? Like,
yeah, they both got hundreds of like $90 and $200 million. It's just.
Can you imagine? I mean, I would beat the shit out of Jake Paul for like $200. Good for him.
I mean, I would.
As far as Paul getting paid, whatever. I mean, it's the scam he plays, and it's really, by the way, just to sort of jab our way into a more serious thing. All of this stuff is spectacle, and nothing is more fascist than aesthetics and spectacle as politics. And this stuff really fits in our moment.
What is another example of this now, aesthetic for politics, or in the past? You're a big history buff.
Oh, right now there's so much of it. I mean, Trump saying that we're going to have Trump battleships that are going to. They're called like there's some gold thing he's talking about with the battleships.
A new class of battleships, he said, because he cares a lot about aesthetics. By the way, it's being covered that way as well. It's a weird, again, very, very childish to care about the way the things look versus function, if not both. Like, or to admit that what he's done with the White House, it's just all. It's so gross. It's so gross.
Given their many flaws, despite their many flaws, one thing you have to say about the Nazis is they were really good at aesthetics.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
These guys, they went to, who was it? The great French designer that designed the SS uniforms.
The hell do I know?
Yves Saint Laurent or somebody did.
Wow.
Like, I mean, they
Chanel?
went to somebody amazing to get their uniforms designed.
I'll look.
Whereas Trump just, slaps gold leaf on shit and wants battleships that look like Cybertrucks of the sea.
Right.
And that's another like perfect metaphor because they're not suit to purpose. They're not going to work. And if there's even one built, I will die of shock. Like all of this is just show and sensation and spectacle. And it's designed just like Logan or Jake Paul or whatever Paul or Tate. It's designed to just create spectacle for, let's be honest, dumb people to feel a sense of identification and support these people. That's all it is.
I think maybe Hugo Boss. Yeah, Rachel said it in the chat.
Hugo Boss, thank you. Thank you.
Who designed the Nazi uniforms.
I apologize to Yves Saint Laurent.
Talking with the great Bill Boyle, and always a lot of stuff I want to talk with you about. And first, I know that you're paying attention to this Supreme Court decision today that decided apparently that federal government or Trump can't send troops into Chicago. Let me just look it up here.
Yeah.
But big decision today. A lot is happening that I want to talk with you about, and it's happening right here at the end of the year, in the final week of the year. Supreme Court rules on legality of Trump National Guard deployment to Chicago. Supreme Court blocks Trump from deploying the National Guard to Chicago. Why is this a thing that you are paying close attention to? Why does it matter today?
Well, so it's a very big deal because it sets limitations on the bullshit that ICE is doing to try to be used to punish cities by Trump, who he doesn't like, who are too democratic or defy him in some way. But there's something very specific that Kavanaugh wrote in part of the decision. And this is what Kavanaugh wrote, and this is very much different than what he'd been saying 6 months ago. He said, the Fourth Amendment requires that immigration stops must be based on reasonable suspicion of illegal presence. Stops must be brief. Arrests must be based on probable cause, and officers must not employ excessive force. Moreover, the officers must not make interior immigration stops or arrests based on race, or ethnicity. So all of those were being called Kavanaugh stops, where they were just kicking in someone's car window and grabbing them because they looked Latino. Kavanaugh just made it a Supreme Court decision that that's no longer okay.
Because he's the one who said it was okay. In an earlier decision, Brett Kavanaugh stops refers to a controversial practice in immigration enforcement stemming from Justice Brett Kavanaugh's concurrence in 2025 Supreme Court case, where he suggested immigration agents could consider facts like ethnicity, speaking Spanish, or gathering in certain work areas as part of a, quote, reasonable suspicion for stops, leading to criticism that this enables racial profiling of Latinos and chills free speech, while supporters see it as common sense enforcement of immigration law. And yet today he reversed that.
He did. Now, is it a perfect decision? Is it, he says this application does not require us to delve into particular cases or series of encounters or whatever, but he's basically drawing a line under what is okay and what is not. And it's going to provide a legal basis to challenge many things that ICE has been doing in a way that is going to pass muster in the Supreme Court automatically. I mean, the decision today was 6-3. So this was not a close call. And it's a good, somebody called it a brushback of Trump. And I think that's the right way to put it. This is not a wholesale rejection of what Trump is doing. It's not going to completely fix things on that front, but it's definitely going in the right direction.
Definitely going in the right direction, not going to fix things necessarily, but this is a pretty significant, if what you're saying is accurate, and I'm sure it is, and I'm looking forward to other interpretations of today's decision. But if you're saying, why was there a decision? Was it an argument? What happened? Supreme Court?
The Trump administration itself asked the Supreme Court to approve what they were doing in Chicago.
What this also means, though, I'm guessing, is that they won't be able to do this anywhere else either.
It certainly makes everything they're doing with ICE legally problematic.
3 conservative justices, Thomas Alito and Gorsuch, dissented, while Brett Kavanaugh declined to join the majority's explanation of the ruling. The ruling, a rare loss for the president following a string of wins he's racked up in the high court's emergency docket in the first year of his second term. Justice cleared the way from the fire leaders of federal agencies, dismiss tens of thousands of government employees, and halt thousands of federal grants and contracts. But this is different, and this is very significant based on the terms that we're using. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and by the way, what it shows is that Kavanaugh clearly is stung by what happened after he made his last contribution to this legal issue, right? I mean, he went out of his way, even though he didn't totally agree with the majority opinion, or at least their logic in their opinion. He went out of his way to try to fix the impression that people were given from what he had said earlier. And I think that's a big deal. That tells you that public opinion and I don't know if shaming's the right word, but he certainly doesn't want to be going down as Justice Taney or somebody who had said some horrific decision and then justified all kinds of terrible things later. So public opinion matters, and making it clear matters.
Yeah. And so probably does it matter, I'm guessing, to a certain extent, at least with certain justices on certain issues, the interpretation of the legal scholars that they respect. And they've gone so far out of bounds that so many conservative legal scholars have rejected what they're doing. Also, and then there's just this trend that we've talked about, that they're just politicians, and they're mostly MAGA, but they are really Republicans. And so they draw the line at certain things, apparently like this, and more importantly, and probably most significantly for the economy, on the tariff issue, which they've long been against as these, quote, free market ideologues on the Supreme Court. And so it's, as he's losing popularity, as he's looking more and more like a pedophile, they, as politicians themselves, are starting to think, at least Kavanaugh to some extent, Gorsuch to some extent, Roberts to some extent, maybe not Alito and Thomas to any extent, but it would seem that that's a trend that is happening, that they are going the way of the wind.
Yeah, I mean, Trump clearly has lost a step. There's clearly the whole blow up in the MAGA world clearly suggests that a lot of people, I think two things are happening. A, the calendar. There are three things are happening. A, the calendar. There's a midterm election and another general election, which is very unlikely Trump can run in any significant way. That's number one. Number one would be less important if Trump was a vigorous, engaged guy. He's not. He's got fat ankles. He's got a bruise on his hand. He's got every sign of having cardiovascular issues, and he is cognitively clearly declining. And number three, of course, is that the economy stinks, that the administration's incredibly unpopular, that, you know, their numbers with Hispanics have reversed by 40 points since January. 40. That's unbelievable. Their numbers are like absolutely tanking. So he's unpopular, he's incompetent, and he's a milk carton whose date is rapidly approaching. So there's every reason in the world to start to disregard him if you care at all, or if you expect to be around in 2028 or maybe even early 2027 when they lose control of at least one branch of the government. And so I think that is what's happening in the Supreme Court right now. I think it's happening with MAGA. You notice there's now open jockeying for position by Cruz, by Vance, by Pence, by various other people to get ready to run in 2028. What you saw, I don't know if you're following what's happening at Heritage Foundation.
I'm following it closely. It's really interesting that this is a think tank that has been around for a very long time. They've been very extreme for a very long time as well. I'm old enough to have covered when, what's his name, DeMint, the former senator from, I think, South Carolina. What's his first name? Jim DeMint was there, a real extremist, a real kind of Christian nationalisty, obviously think tank. I could say more about Heritage, but they are now splintering, and all those people who give them a lot of money are saying, listen, either you are an anti-Semite or not. This is all over Jewish Americans, Jewish people, and Israel is my understanding. They don't mind about the racism or anything else, seemingly, but this seems to be because the head of Heritage supported Tucker Carlson in his interview with Fuentes, didn't challenge it, and people are jumping ship, and they're going over to a new think tank created by a real Republican, the former vice president, Mike Pence.
That's right.
How did I do?
Yeah, I mean, they're losing Hans von Spankowski, who was the ultimate election, what would be the term? Conspiracy theorist in the Republican Party.
Is that right?
But he still was sort of reality based, at least. He followed the law and he looked for legal reasons why he thought voting was screwed up and whatever. But that guy, by our definition 10 years ago, would have been a wacky conservative, and he's like, nope, I'm out. Like, these guys are nuts. There's a push pull happening there, by the way. The Groyper thing is gotten into Heritage, and guys like von Spankowski, I love that name. It's like talking about like an errant Nazi general who like switched sides, right? But these guys they're looking at this place and going like, a bunch of weird kids are in here who hate my Jewish friends, number one. But then number two, there's suddenly a lot of money out there for somebody like Pence to open another shop. And that to me is the interesting thing, that suddenly big money is going, whoa, hold on. Let's start another thing. Let's bring the Mises Institute over here. Let's give $15 million and let's create another option here. And I think that is a very telling thing. It's, I'm always skeptical about what people say. I'm really interested in what they do, particularly in politics. And when somebody comes up with $15 million to get Pence up and running, that tells you
right?
that,
is that, oh, wow. Okay.
15 million just from one group.
Wow.
Yeah. So it tells you that the business class, the pro-Israel folks, the When I say pro-Israel, I mean, I'm not talking about like wildly insane pro-Israel people. They're just, some folks are like believe in supporting Israel and they're not nuts about it. Even they are looking at this, whether we agree with them or not, right? There's reasonable people who support Israel in the Republican Party, and those people are like, we're out. Like we're creating other structures, which ironically is like where heritage comes from itself. Heritage comes from an era where some people created that because it was the future where the party was going, and that's now happening again. I don't think the Groypers are electable. And so what you're seeing is other groups developing that are going to start to be that are looking for an electable coalition to build.
Yeah, I mean, we could say more about it. I'm not sure what it means. I do want to ask, I guess, one final question on it. This is having to do with the fracture of the Republican Party, the MAGA movement. We got more evidence of it at the Turning Point USA conference that took place, wherever the fuck that was, with fireworks. And like, at one point I looked at an image of all the images of the speakers, and God, it was just so, it was like, what's his name from Rob Schneider from Saturday Night Live to, Ben Shapiro from the Daily Wire to obviously Mike Pence and so many others. But to get a speaking slot there is a big deal. But Tucker Carlson also spoke, and he speaks for Nick Fuentes, it would seem. And you say the Groypers can't get invited, can't win an election.
Elected, yeah.
Yeah, but why do you think that?
There's one running in Florida, and, these guys are sort of like, once they crawl out from under their rock and are actually in front of more or less regular people, the weirdness is so evident and so obvious that they put people off big time. I think it's easier for people who spend their days on Twitter and Blue Sky and various other related social media, Truth Social, to overestimate like the actual popularity of these people in the real world. Are they influential? Sure. Do they create these micro groups that sometimes have macro influence? Sure. But Donald Trump was actually not that at all. The reason he worked is he's like an Archie Bunker character. Donald Trump came across as like a particular type of American archetype that everyone knows and then sometimes sympathizes with. The hard hat riot in the 70s. It's those guys. It's Queens blue collar guys. It's that mindset. That's what Trump represents at his most politically effective, which now is, I would say, has long past his peak of that. Whereas the Groypers, like, what are they talking about? They're talking about how, men should not besmirch themselves with the touch of a woman, and how Hitler was awesome, and like all this weird stuff that is like a very
Nick Fuentes said being with women sexually is gay.
Yeah, like I mean, this is
a weird thing. It's a weird.
You can imagine the guys, the big Indiana businessmen around Pence, going like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Like that's a, So John Gantz has this great analysis of this politics in the GOP, and he calls it the jock creep dynamic. That there's like the jock side of it, guys like Pence, and there's a creep side of it, and it's the guys like Fuentes or Heinrich Himmler, right? And they don't easily work together, and in the end, the jocks win. I mean, it's just not. No one's going to vote for Nick Fuentes for president. There really aren't, and it's no chance that's happening. And who comes closest to it, by the way, of trying to court these people and benefit from it, is J.D. Vance.
Right? Yeah, that's important. That's why I think
everybody looks at J.D. Vance. Everyone who I think I trust their judgment at all is like, this guy's a gigantic asshole. Like a gigantic asshole. And people don't like him. Vance's numbers, by the way, are bad. His approval numbers are bad. Overall to the American
He won
public,
the straw poll. He won the straw poll at Turning Point USA, which I'm sure you're going to say doesn't matter, but it does matter in primaries. I mean, he could.
Well, it matters to get elected to get the nomination. Nationally, his approval rating is dog shit. It's terrible. Who's a lot more popular than him? AOC is a lot more popular than he is. Mamdani is a lot more popular than he is. Biden's more popular than Vance. Like Vance is because he courts that creepy douchebag vibe that appeals to the weirdos, but doesn't appeal to people who, talking about heritage Americans, by the way, to a bunch of Italians on Staten Island is not a very effective thing in the end. It works now, works the GOP. But in other words, to say like, Joe LaMotta from Staten Island is not as American as J.D. Vance because his family got here sooner.
Right.
That's great for these weird little fights within the GOP. It's really bad to win a national election.
I absolutely believe that there is a path, there is a lane, there is a group of people in America that would support a real populist for the working class, the way that a lot of people crossed over and supported Bernie Sanders, who they thought was uncorruptible and anti-war and more about egalitarian ideas, i.e. democratic socialism. And I think that person is AOC. I think that she is the best possible choice for president in 2028, unless Jon Stewart was going to run. And I mean everything I said. I'm not being cynical.
No, I mean, I would take AOC over Stewart 100% of the time.
I would too. I would prefer her in a lot of ways.
She's a real politician, and you need a real politician in that job. I have my issues with winnability. I think it gets harder for her to win. I think it's too soon for her, frankly.
Oh, I think it's right on time.
Well, we'll see, but I'm not sure who I want, but I think it's too soon for her, frankly. She should run for senator from New York State, grab that seat, do 2 terms there, and then she's pretty much a shoo-in for president.
I'm not sure that either. That could be no matter what, it'll be probably a tough primary whoever it runs. But I was thinking that Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand, who are my 2 senators here in New York, they're not going anywhere, I don't think. She'd have to primary them.
Schumer's an old guy.
He is an old guy, but I think there'd still be a primary.
Oh, yeah. I think she would win that primary, though.
Well, no, I had no doubt about it. No doubt that she would win the primary. I'm just pointing out that would happen. All right, well, that's the future of the Democratic Party. We're talking about a little bit of the future of the Republican Party and the MAGA split there. I do think it's worth mentioning or being interesting just how the spikes in anti-Semitism. We've never seen anti-Semitism like this and in our lifetimes. The shooting, it's international, in Australia was absolutely horrific. I think there's huge spikes in anti-Semitism in this country. And on the right, it's really, really open now. I mean, they are screaming out loud about it. And you're seeing, obviously, a lot of American Jews finally admit to how horrible that threat is. And you're seeing a lot of people standing up to it in traditional, quote, Republicans. But no doubt that is the most, I think, hateful threat. Obviously, they're racist, they're sexist, they want to control women, anti-LGBT, but man, the anti-Semitism on the right, I wanted to just keep acknowledging, certainly on the left as well, don't get me wrong, but keep acknowledging the fact that anybody out there can't separate Israel and American Jews or Judaism and Israel is, well, you're a stupid person.
It's a character test to me.
Yes. Agreed. Well said.
Right?
Yeah.
Character test. If somebody, I grew up being a supporter of Israel. I would say that I still am, in the sense that I support the people trying to beat Bibi Netanyahu within Israel to put Israel on a better path, because the path that it's on is going to destroy Israel in the long run. And I think they're committing war crimes in Gaza, and I think that's an utterly shameful thing, horrendous, etc. That doesn't mean I hate Israel, or that and more particularly, I know so many Jewish people who are even more upset about it than I am, right? Like, so it's just a great democratic socialist from Europe in the 1880s or 90s. He said, anti-Semitism is the socialism of idiots. And I love that because anti-Semitism is used as a populist tool to avoid all the things that democratic socialism tries to fix, right? That's why there's National Socialism, because the socialism of National Socialism was our problems are not capitalism, our problems are not inequality, our problems are not lack of services or anything else. Our problems are Jews make it all bad. And it's really just a way to play 3-card Monte and let all those inequalities continue to exist and cover that over, paper it over with the hatred of one particular group. And that, by the way, is precisely what Fuentes, Trump, Vance are doing, right? All that they're doing is letting everything bad continue, profiting from it, and blaming it on the various others out there that they have picked.
That's right. That's right. Very well said. What do you make of the latest news out of the Epstein files that we've seen? This letter from – is the letter, in your opinion, is a letter from Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Nassar authentic, and is it evidence that Jeffrey Epstein had plans to take his life?
It's both yes and no, and here's why.
Go ahead.
It was put out by the DOJ itself. This letter was not put out by some random person.
Okay.
That authenticates it in terms of public opinion. Right? Now, I don't think it's a letter that he wrote. That seems bizarre to me and crazy.
You don't think that's a letter that Jeffrey Epstein wrote?
It doesn't look like his handwriting.
How would you know?
Pointed out the dates.
Have you seen any analysis that said that it wasn't his handwriting?
It just doesn't look. What I've seen some of his stuff, and it just looks too well written, and for a variety of reasons, it just seems weird to me. I mean, I've never heard that he and Larry Nassar were carrying on a correspondence. That also seems a little. Yeah, but
wouldn't it make? Go ahead.
Let's just say I am very agnostic on that. It seems too pat. It seems too on the nose, just in many ways. However, here's the thing: it matters now because the Trump administration chose to slow walk the files. It chose to politicize what was released and what was not. It chose to break the law. And in doing all of those things, it played right into the hands of every conspiracy theorist about the Epstein files from day one. Because whether or not there's any evidence of Trump raping someone, abusing some young woman, etc., it is actually now a conspiracy to, at minimum, hide something. Right? There's no other reason. If Trump knew that he was good and he was fine on all of this stuff, he would have put out a statement saying, hey, we're releasing all of this stuff on December 19th. There's going to be lies in there about me because a lot of people said and did a lot of crazy things in relation to this. But I am confident that there's nothing in these files that are ever going to show me are ever going to be shown to have proven that I've done anything wrong. So America, we're dropping them all. Knock yourselves out. And if something comes out that you think it looks weird or bad or whatever, we will address it and we will show you why it's not true. Done. Drop all the files. It's over at that point. You can do that. Like Bill Clinton put out a statement this week saying, hey, release it all. I don't care because the American public deserves to know. And I'm not worried about whatever's in there. That's what you do when you know you're good. To be clear,
Bill Clinton is gross and terrible.
Oh,
and
of course, but he knows he's good on this. He knows he's okay on this.
I don't know if he knows he's good. I think he doesn't think there's nothing.
Bill Clinton is so not a guy who falls on his own sword, or he's a guy who's often fallen on his own sword, but not intentionally. Bill Clinton put that statement out because he knows that there's nothing, almost certainly not going to be anything in there that he can't say, no, this is bullshit and here's why. Trump doing what he's doing, he just gives credence to everything. And so it no longer truth, ironically for Trump, because normally that he's on the other side of this, the truth no longer matters. He has made it clear that there's things in there that are very embarrassing for him. And so he's giving credence to this stuff. If it turns out that that letter was a forgery or some skullduggery going on, people are going to say, well, wait a minute, you're the ones who put it out. And by the way, you put it out on Friday night, then you withdrew it. Or you put it out, whatever, Monday night, and they literally put it out, put it up, and then a couple hours later went, oh shit, and they deleted it, but people had already copied it.
Right.
I mean, if you're putting, and they've done this, by the way, with multiple documents. So they're already showing that they're playing a shell game. The exact authenticity of that letter is no longer all that relevant. It's going to be obvious to any normal person they're trying to hide something, and it's going to be the fulfillment of every conspiratorial person's fantasy that they're doing what they're doing. Is that letter legitimately 100% true? Who the fuck knows? I don't know. All I know is that they are manipulating the information. And incredibly ineptly so, by the way. With ineptitude that is, I'm sorry, but, strong men with tears in their eyes could have done a better job of this. I mean, it's just any moron could have done a better job of this. These guys are screwing it up gigantic, which I love. which I love, to be clear, because it's going to be in the news every week until the day he's out of the White House.
Right, exactly. It's not going away. And that is such a huge deal. That's one of the things that you always say when we talk about politics, and I think it's something that's very important to look at, not reacting just to the moment, but how a story is going to play out, or how much a story is going to affect popular opinion or politics, or the important news stories of the day in the long term. You're always good to point that out. And I think this is the perfect example of it. And there are plenty more, obviously, as the economy continues to slow down. Yeah. By the way, it's like every day is a nightmare in the news. I won't look away from it. I know some people want to and need to, and that's fine. This is part of my work. Plus, I think it matters a lot, and I want to know what's happening and be able to talk about it for sure for my work. Finally, the windmill decision yesterday, shutting down all these wind farms that are in the works or that are already working, that we're going to power over 2 million homes on the East Coast. When energy prices are skyrocketing and you have an energy source that's cheap and up and running, you don't turn it off, literally. And B, it's all a lie. Every reason that they said they were going to do this is completely untrue and a lie. And finally, when the economy is sputtering, and even when it's not, you're putting people who build those wind farms out of work. So hundreds, if not thousands, of people will be out of work. Energy prices will go up. I guess maybe he doesn't care because they power a lot of blue states mostly, but there are red state voters in there, or Trump voters in there. And so I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, but that's a huge story that kind of, might get buried or undercovered in the last 24 hours.
So it's 2.5 million people we get power from them.
Who are these fucking idiots watching us today on YouTube? There's a bunch of fucking idiots watching.
Oh, I'm sure you get some.
I mean, not usually. It just must be like the time of year or something. I wish. Yeah. Listen, I'm happy to have them here because it means more and more people are watching. Don't get me wrong. Most people listen to the show on the podcast, but it's just like some guys like, is it cheap? Is wind energy cheap? Yeah, you stupid fuck. What are you, fucking stupid?
Yeah, there's plenty of research out there. In fact, he would have been right 15 years ago.
Even if it was more expensive, you would still want it because it's cleaner, but only a fucking idiot would be against.
Now it's actually cheaper and it's cleaner.
Exactly.
So
how we got so many fucking idiots to become pro pollution? Like, that is an impressive feat that someone thinks that it's like somehow masculine to support a certain kind of energy like coal and oil and gas, or that, scientists are fucking cucks and pussies. That is a really it's always impressed me that there's been almost a gender dynamic, a masculinity thing, like clean energy is somehow soft and cucky and weak. No, you're the dumbest, literally the dumbest people believe that. So I'm glad to have them watching. Yes.
Well, so here's the thing.
And then they say, now he's like cockface calling people idiots. They always talk about dicks. Right. They're always 1,000% loving cock. They love cock. So much. They're all gay. They're all closeted gays. That guy, Frederick DeLaurie, in the chat is gay. That's a gay person. Cockface. The insults that they always spew against men are something about penises because they're obsessed with them. I'm sorry, Bill.
Or the cuck thing. There's a lot of it.
All of it. It's all signaling they're one rolling rock away from a cock.
Nice. Damn. Why a rolling? Could you at least give the guy a decent beer?
No.
To accept, his homosexuality.
It doesn't name the beer. Name it. It wouldn't take much.
A good microbrew, though. Come on, not Rolling Rock. Rolling Rock tastes like my shoe. So anyway, I was at the Jersey Shore on this island a while back. My kid and I are rolling around, and we keep seeing these "Save the Island" stickers everywhere, and we're like, "The fuck is this about? That's weird." And eventually, I go and look at one of them up close. And it was that they were going to build windmills out 8 or 9 miles out in the ocean, which is over the curve of the earth, so you couldn't see them from the island. And the Save the Island was the local campaign to have them not be built because it was supposedly going to ruin the island, that they were building these windmills way out there. And that's similar to sort of the rolling coal guys who make their trucks intentionally create a lot of smoke and whatever. And it's, again, getting back to the aestheticization of politics, where policy matters a lot less. It's all about, instead, sort of what do I identify with? What makes me feel like a man or not like a cuck to whoever that dude is, right? And
no whales are dying, you fucking idiot. There's no connection to windmills and whales dying.
Yeah, and
that's a lie. That's a lie. The people who study whales are saying that's not true. You fucking idiot. You people are the dumbest, stone cold stupid people. Like the idea that you believe this shit and that you buy the easiest stupid lies. They just eat them. They eat them all up. Sorry.
So also like that whole idea about whales being hurt by it. That's actually totally bullshit. In fact, fishermen in New England were intensely against the windmills because they thought it was going to hurt the
no, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I'm embarrassed for these people. I'm embarrassed that they're like, are you mad? I'm like, no, I'm not mad. I'm making fun of you. I'm not mad at all. I'm glad you're here, you stupid fuck. I'm happy. I'm happy that you're here. If you're a real person and not a bot, you are a dumb fuck. You're still watching this. Sorry.
That's okay. So if Fred had ever actually fished off of the coast?
He's never left his mother's house. He's never kissed a girl. He's never fished because he's afraid to put a worm on a hook.
I've actually spent a lot of time, or a fair amount of time, on that ocean. And guess what they used to do back in the day to create more fishing grounds? They would sink ships, hulks of ships, because when you put those obstructions in the deep water, it creates breeding grounds for smaller fish, which gets you more bigger fish, which gets you more to fish for in general. New England fishermen were vehemently against the windmills in New England. Now they advocate for them because the windmills create more fishing grounds for you. And whales have sonar. They're not so stupid that they run into big pylons in the middle of the sea. For the same reason, by the way, that no one ever freaked out about an oil rig.
I appreciate that.
Run into oil rigs.
I appreciate that logical explanation, but I also think that the problem with these dumb fucks is that they think they know more than people who are experts in what they do. And if you thought that whales were somehow
nice for me. That dude doesn't think he knows more than experts. That dude is pissed off that he feels insecure around experts.
Right. Well, yes.
That's why he's on the chat on a YouTube having a baby about all kinds of stuff and using potty mouth to. Apparently.
Nothing makes me an expert. Somebody asks. I'm not an expert. My entire show has always been that I every day for 3 hours a day for 5 days a week at SiriusXM, and now every day I interview experts. That's what I do because I think
you can Google a New York Times article about fishermen and windmills in New England, and it's a whole long article about actual fishermen talking why the windmills are good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Rachel's like, all of a sudden they care about whales. The same people,
exactly right.
The same people usually don't care about other humans, much less other living things.
But what's interesting about it to me is that is like the perfect Trumpian sort of issue, because it's so stupid, but it also gets at like the sort of weird way in which people get really reactionary about change. They're terrified of change, and any change, even if it's a windmill literally over the horizon, they're never going to see. It is this sense that the world is moving on, or that your mom is getting older, and when she kicks the bucket, you're no longer going to be able to live in her basement and, go on YouTube from there, right? The world is changing, and if you don't feel like you're in control of your life, then these things terrify you. And I think that is kind of what you're saying in most chat rooms on YouTube, sadly, these days.
Yeah, it's just one of the things another thing they hate is like electric cars. Like again,
sure, because I mean, and
they hate them. And they must be torn up because of Elon Musk, who they probably also worship. But
I mean, Pete, I'm a guy who goes to F1 races and is involved in the automotive world and involved in through my partners with some very high end automobile racing and all of that stuff. I don't know a single guy who is really into cars, really into race cars, who gets upset about electric cars in the least. It's the guy driving like a Honda Celica or worse, the lowest end F-150 he can buy. That's the guy who gets really mad about electric cars. And it's just it's an insecurity thing. It's a political identity thing. It's, and by the way, that's just a sad, sad thing. you're hanging your hat on being anti-windmills and anti-EV. Jesus, get a girlfriend, man.
Or a friend, or like a hobby.
I'm saying this out of concern, by the way.
Or exercise. Like, no one that has these opinions exercises. No, I'm convinced that these stupid MAGA fucks that are here commenting or whatever, there is a huge overlap with them doing zero cardio ever, much less any weight training. I mean, don't even get me started on diet and nutrition, but they're like the least physically healthy specimens too, because they don't know how to work hard. You know, constantly crying about lazy people, but they're just like bags of mushy meat. And I would be embarrassed.
No, it's funny because whoever is listening to this or watching this is like going F you, not realizing that you were an actual trainer. Right?
But it's not about that I was an actual trainer. It's not that I was a high school athlete or even a college athlete. It's that my dad like role modeled exercise growing up. So I exercise, and I think it's a virtuous, healthy thing to do. Like, I think people should exercise and try to be healthy, and they don't. These people this guy that keeps commenting, I mean, a bunch of these guys that keep commenting, oh, you're just using talking points. What? What does that even mean?
You know what my father modeled, interestingly? He modeled shaming dumb people.
Well, good. That's a good thing. My dad did that too.
Healthy?
My dad
did that was
too.
healthy.
I'm
sure that was healthy. I'm trying to avoid that.
All right. This guy writes, the problem is that you guys think that we think like you, that everything is crazy. Life is changing, dramatic situation. That's how we got in this situation. Well, I don't know what you're saying, buddy. Why don't you join us? Why don't you guys call in? Why don't you join us? None of them would. None of them. I'll give them the link.
I would happily have a respectful conversation with somebody.
Yeah, if they could listen. I mean, I'd be happy to listen and entertain it, but they're all cowards. They just commented. I give anybody the link that wants to join. Just let me know. This is why conservatives and liberals never get along. We're so dramatically different in our thinking. Yeah, you don't do it. You don't think. You're not. You don't have a. By the way, it's no longer. It's not even liberals and conservatives anymore. I remember liberals and conservatives. I remember thoughtful conservatives. I talked to them. I debated them. I got beat by them. People like Newt Gingrich and so many others. People who I thought were insidious human beings that were very good and smart arguing. That's not this generation. Conservatism is dead, bro. It's dead.
So
you support a pedophile. A pedophile.
I'm actually friends with a bunch of conservatives who are very smart, very thoughtful. And guess what the thoughtful, smart conservatives are? They are all intensely anti-Trump. They think being against a windmill that makes electricity cheaper and creates jobs is insane. They actually believe in policy. They don't believe in these sort of like chivalrous, like I'm against this or I'm for that or whatever. They actually I have very conservative friends. I mean, really conservative friends who are in favor of Obamacare because they've looked at the economics and the numbers and say, a little too socialist for me, sure, but it makes sense as policy. It saves the country money. It gets better outcomes. So, folks who are in the Trump world, they're not conservatives at all. They're reactionaries.
Yes, but I don't even agree necessarily with your depiction of conservatives because I think that they're almost entirely reactionaries. Like this guy again, liberals won't open borders. Conservatives won't let immigrants want immigrants to enter the country legally. This is why you're an idiot.
Like the assumption that I'm a liberal. Actually.
The idea that this guy and anybody else would argue that the conservative idea of immigration is that they want them to enter legally it betrays that they don't pay attention at all and that they don't understand that the conservative position on immigration overwhelmingly and today is against it, all of it, any type of it. Sure. And the reason I know this for the guy listening is because I covered it. Yeah. Objectively covered the negotiations. Republicans, when they voted for immigration reform under Obama and then again under Biden, other Republicans killed it. They would not allow it to come up for a vote under Obama. Boehner wouldn't allow it for a vote, and Trump killed it under Biden. So the truth is, buddy, I'm sorry, and everybody else, this is always such an important point. Conservatives don't want anything to change about immigration. They don't want any immigration, period. And it's because you're racist.
Boehner
That's why.
Himself would have voted for that bill, but he has explicitly said in detail
Boehner
that his own caucus would have abandoned him and fired him from the speakership if he had allowed that vote to go through. Are Democrats perfect on this issue? Of course not. But the reality is
no
there have been two great chances to reform immigration in the last 20 years. And both times they were killed by conservatives.
And by the way, Democratic liberals bent over backwards and lost a huge amount of their base support as a result of working with Republicans. And they still didn't get anything done. It's
the last bill was basically a Republican bill. And conservatives still killed it. And they killed it. Why? Because Donald Trump wanted the issue to run on in 2024. And so he instructed them to kill it so that he could run on immigration being a problem in the election. And that's not liberal or conservative. That's reality.
Let me ask you another question along these lines, perfect for a lot of these MAGA people watching. You're going to love this, folks. Listen when Bill Boyle explains how the world is looking at America right now, especially in Europe, but everywhere else as well. You could look at Russia, you could look at China, you could look at our adversaries, which are now our friends in many ways, and our friends are now our enemies. You could look at Canada and you can look at Europe. But this idea that these guys think that respect is a thing that's important, A, versus B, that they're getting any respect. Like, even if I believe that it was about respect and about strength that other countries support, now they support pragmatic ideas that are in their own self-interest. It's really minimizing to talk about projecting strength and demanding respect from the rest of the world. But this guy and all of you are being laughed at by the entire world is laughing at America and Trump and all of you idiots who support this guy.
Yeah. So before Trump came along, the United States had the world's reserve currency, which we still do, which at least for now we still have, which allowed us to run up debts, which aren't really debts because we're the reserve currency. And so we can print money whenever we want to. So we could use that to fund our economy and grow it and do all kinds of things. And someone else literally foots the bill. We had almost every single one of the world's most influential and financially, economically successful states as client states to the United States. Like NATO existing, where the United States guarantees Article 5, means that all of those states, whenever they want to do something, to some degree have to check in with the U.S. and say, what do you think? That also applied to Japan, applies to Taiwan, where all the chips are made, applies to a lesser extent to places like Indonesia and Vietnam and Thailand. And all of the places producing oil, all these countries, in the way the world worked until Trump came along, had to go to the U.S. first and kind of say, what do you think? Now, did they always agree with us? No. Did they always do what we wanted to do? No. But we had to spend very little money to have a world that was designed for us. And there was no, the idea that you need people to let Trump walk in front of a bunch of European presidents like he did in his first term, where he's shoving people aside. That's like the bully who mistakes the fact that he can push people on the playground. That bully imagines that he is a big man in the world. He's not. He's a fucking idiot on a playground. And what happens when you become a bully, particularly I think people don't understand that European countries are baffled. The Chinese are baffled by this because they're looking at us and going, my God, you held the world in your hands and you're blowing up the system that supports you. And it's just a bizarre, and it's true of Trump in many, many ways, like what he's doing with the U.S. military, what he's doing with immigration, what he's doing with all these things. It's this mix of reactionary ideas where we're literally telling, by the way, we just said it in the national security roundup they just put out.
Yeah.
We're telling the European countries that we're going to undermine their governments because they're allowing themselves to be de-Europeanized. Do we give a shit? Why do we give a shit if Hungary is less Hungarian? By some definition made up by Vance. What do we care? These are sovereign countries that get to run their internal affairs. That is a ridiculous thing for us to worry about when and if they will. I mean, we fought in Afghanistan. They all showed up. The vast majority showed up.
We don't care. We don't care about that. We don't care about that.
We fought in Iraq. The vast majority showed up. The French didn't go, but they quietly supported us all over the place. In the war on terror, by the way, the French were knocking bodies for us left and right for decades, killing people left and right at the U.S. behest. It's just insane to me that we had this world designed for us that supported our interests, where we made tons of money, where we had better trade agreements because of it. And again, not perfect because nothing is. You've been married for 20 years. Things are never going to be perfect, but you're married and you have a great life. That's the U.S. We have somebody called it like the second generation problem, and that too many people. I'm old, so I remember how this worked. There's not enough people left who remembered all the blood and sweat and tears that existed in a world where we did not have this kind of control. When we were contesting the world with Russia, the amount of money we spent on our military was unbelievable. The amount of, but we understood that we needed NATO, right? We understood we needed allies because Russia and the Soviet Union really was strong enough to really give us a go at surviving. And when we lost that in 1992, in the last 30 years, Americans have forgotten that. They have forgotten what the world really looks like when it's dangerous. And what Trump is doing is recreating an incredibly dangerous world for us. And you know what? We're going to pay for it. As Mattis once said, when we just fired 30 diplomats, 30 ambassadors around the world, which means decades and decades, hundreds of years of experience in the countries they were running. Why? Because they were not ideologically pure enough for the Trump people. And that's a tragedy in the making. Mattis had a great line, which other people have said many times, which is that the less you spend on diplomacy, the more you better spend on bullets. And it's just and by the way, Susan Wiles, Trump's chief of staff, about USAID, she described what was done to USAID as appalling because, as she put it, and I'll paraphrase, everybody knows how incredibly useful USAID was for pushing American foreign policy around the world. Absolutely insane. And by the way, like people go, oh, well, Doge was trying to save money. Guess what Doge did not do? It cost us more money. America is spending more money now, in part because these agencies have gotten gutted and there's less control and there's less management of the government. We're spending more money now than before Doge. And that is, and speaking of mental illness,
liberalism is mental illness.
Wasn't the whole point to save money? And yet it's not. Absolutely stupid. And, I'll end with one thing.
Even Elon Musk said it was a mistake. These people are fucking unbelievably dumb.
Here's one last thing that I'll tell you that it's a detail that I think illustrates it really well. We have the greatest preponderance of military naval force in the Caribbean that we've had since World War II. The U.S. was chasing a Venezuelan oil tanker, and they were unable to catch it. The freaking rust bucket, shitbird, old Venezuelan oil tanker was able to escape, quote unquote, into the Atlantic.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes. That is just the most absurd and ridiculous thing. And again, that points at like these guys are just sort of flailing around doing things, and they don't understand the world. They don't understand what's useful or by the way, America is very powerful, but every country has limits to its ability and to function, its ability to do things. You have limited bandwidth, even if you're the world's greatest country, which we are. I am a unrepentant American patriot. I fucking love this country. I want this country to win. And what I'm looking at right now is a bunch of clowns at the wheel who are just dissipating our goodwill, dissipating our power, dissipating all the things that made us great. And if you don't understand that, I frankly feel sorry for you. It's a sad day for you.
Trump derangement syndrome is when you love Trump, just so you're clear, just so you understand.
If
Trump
you love
derangement
Trump, you clearly don't have a great understanding of reality.
He's not only that, he's your daddy. You would let him have sex with someone that you loved.
Oh, my God.
But that's what they would.
Yeah.
All these guys watching right now would let Trump fuck their wives or even their children because he fucks children and they don't care. And TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, means it's what you have if you like Donald Trump. If you cannot see how unbelievably stupid and embarrassing and awful he is and how the rest of the world sees us as a result, you have Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
And it's sad. You're sad.
Well, the interesting thing, Pete, is that
you're not critical thinkers. You don't question anything. You don't question your bias. You fall for the dumbest shit. There's nothing you won't fall for.
Yeah.
The moon is made of cheese. If Trump said it, these people that are watching would be like, listen. And then the other thing is they love watching people they disagree with be upset. They love upsetting people, which is also a terrible quality. I don't know how to tell you that. But enjoying people's suffering because you don't like them or because you disagree with them, what does that make you?
Well, so here's the thing, though, right?
Who would want to live their life that
said
way?
This to me once. The easiest way to con people is to make them feel like they're part of the con game, right? Like if you let people think that they're part of the scam, that's the easiest way to rip them off.
Yeah, well,
and that's kind of
there's
what
a lot
seeing.
of them.
Yeah,
there sure is. There's nothing these idiots and losers won't believe.
To be honest, they have my pity because it's not going to.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, it is. They have mine as well. I want to ask you about one more thing, which is the 60 Minutes story. Barry Weiss, who's now the editor-in-chief of 60 Minutes. You've been critical of her since she came on the scene. You've been a great and accurate and staunch critic. What do you make of CBS spiking the story because the Trump administration would not like it? And it was an important story. It's an important issue. To see it all aggregated that way, the way 60 Minutes does their reporting, is in context. And so what do you make of this for journalism? What do you make of it for CBS? What do you think?
So not apparently, there's been reporting on this, which I almost said Barry White, my God, which Barry White, she's confirmed, which is that she had seen all of it multiple times before Friday night. And she had agreed to it. She had made some comments as the editor. The 60 Minutes people came back and they changed some things, and she said, okay, it's good. Then late that night, something came up. Clearly somebody called her or she called somebody and they suddenly objected to it. And then at the last minute, she said, whoa. You need to get someone in the White House to comment on this. 60 Minutes had already asked the White House for comments and they had been blown off. And when you say basically we can't run a story unless the subject of our story has the right, that you have to get them on. If you can't get them on to comment about it, we can't run it. That means you couldn't run a story on Jeffrey Epstein being a pedophile if he wouldn't come on camera and talk to you about it, right? So it's just it's basically giving the White House or anyone else that you choose to give this power, you're giving them a veto on running a story. And that it's obviously ridiculously bad journalism. It's obviously giving people in power a veto on any bad news about them coming out. It's also, by the way, an incredibly bad own goal. Because that story ended up being played. You can find it online anywhere you want to see it. Yeah. It's a horrendous story about how most of the people going to CCOT in El Salvador are not criminals at all. It's going to get it more traction. It's the Streisand effect. Because, again, they mishandled it. They're so clumsy about it. And also because, what the bottom line is? Regular people like the truth. They do. Regular people like the truth. And it's obvious the truth is being hidden here or ineptly attempted to be hidden. And so I think again, another own goal by some dumb people who get benefit out of hovering within the orbit of Trumpism. Yeah,
certainly Barry Weiss has.
So,
yeah.
It's once you do it, you're done.
You really put that in my brain. I appreciate all of the things you said during this hour. It's always great to talk to Bill. Thank you, everybody, for watching live. You can support the show at patreon.com/Pete Dominic. And to all the MAGA fools listening and watching, thank you. Thank you very much for the numbers. Thanks for joining us today. And thanks for giving us a little bit more to comment and make fun of.
Yeah, and I would actually wish everybody a happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas, and that includes all you MAGA guys out there. I hope you guys hope you have a good holiday along with everybody else, and
same.
Seeing the light would be kind of cool.
I wish nobody suffering. I wish you joy and peace and love. I hope your family has a good holiday, no matter what your thoughts are. I believe believing anything else is poison for your soul, no matter what your philosophy.
That's right.
Or underpinnings are.
Cheers.
Bill Boyle, always great. Thank you very much. Appreciate you, and everybody watching. Thank you very much as well. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
All right. That's it. My conversation with Bill B in DC. Go follow him on Blue Sky. You can watch it. Subscribe on YouTube or Substack. They'll always let you know when I'm going live with a guest if you're a subscriber there and you have that checked. So Do that now. Write a rating and review of the show if you've never done that. That's a great thing to do here at the end of the year. And subscribe or send money via Venmo. My Venmo's in the show notes. I hate to plug it, but I don't know. I guess I shouldn't hate to plug it. What do you think HBO and all the big media networks are doing all the time? Why did I single out HBO? Why am I still talking? John Carroll sings all of the music, writes and performs it. You should go support him, johncarroll.org. And I will talk to you some other times during Taint Week. I just don't know when. Have a great weekend, my friends.
Keep right on ignoring us if we keep sitting tight. You got to open up the window to let in some light. You gotta stand up. That's right. You got to rise up. You got to stand up. You gotta stare the devil straight in the eye. We got to let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear when all you hear is a lie. So get up off of your butt, down off of your fence. Even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense and you stand up, stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town, just stand up, stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Oh, you better stand up, stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up, they had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of a stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment.